What's good, everybody? I hope you guys are all having a great day out there. And today is going to be a great video because we are going to talk about a ton of things related to the Raiders. And again, welcome to episode 19 of the Raiders pod. As you guys can see, we're going to talk a little bit about the COVID impacts. We'll preview the Chiefs game, the injury report, and then Vic Beasley is coming in for a visit. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But just to get right into it, let's talk a little bit about the whole COVID situation with the Raiders. If you guys don't know yet, Cleveland Farrell tested positive for COVID. And because of that, because of the fact that Cleveland Farrell tested positive, we have a bunch of players that are currently on the contact tracing list. In fact, a ton of these guys are starters, right? And that sucks. That really sucks because without these players, again, it's contact tracing, so that doesn't mean that these players are necessarily going to be out, but they could come back on Sunday. But if any of these players test positive, they'll be out, and chances are they will probably not. I think Abram already put it out there on his Instagram that he plans to play, but it sucks because then you can't practice, right? If you go into a week without practicing, without preparing, and you can try as much as you want through Zoom or whatever other way that the team holds a practice, it is never the same, right? At the end of the day, you have to go to the facility. You have to meet and talk with the other players in the room. And that's the only true way you can prepare for a game, especially that this is the biggest game of the season for the Raiders. The truth is the Chiefs are not going to lose a lot of games. They're going to end up winning 12, 13, or 14 games. But if the Raiders can beat the Chiefs, that's going to flip the whole entire division, right? Because then they'll get a loss and we'll get a win. And then on top of that, maybe they'll get another loss down the line and the Raiders can continue to win. But without those players, we're really going to struggle. And it's really unfortunate that the Raiders have these players on the list. LaMarcus Joyner is going to be huge because he is our starting slot corner. Abram is Abram. Collins, Hankins, Arden Key had a great game last week. I rewatched the film. Vickers, of course, has been good throughout various parts of the season. And, of course, Isaiah Johnson, who really stepped up. And one of the things that I noticed with Isaiah Johnson just watching him is he honestly is playing in the slot. He's covering tight ends, right? I remember a couple of years back, maybe 2 or 3 years back, the Raiders had a corner with a similar body and size of Isaiah Johnson, and that was Sean Smith, right? I think we brought him in from the Chiefs, and we tried it. We tried lining him up on tight ends because he was tall. He's like 6'3", 6'4", same thing as Isaiah Johnson. But with Isaiah Johnson, it actually worked. You know, believe it or not, last week while I was watching the game, many times either Noah Fant and sometimes Abram as well would line up on the tight end there, and they do a good job. I hope these guys come back. Chances are all of them will be perfectly fine. Of course, Cleveland Farrell is not going to play, right? He's already ruled out. I don't think even if he tested negative for COVID, he would still be able to play. So Cleveland Farrell, he's going to be out. He will not be able to play, which does suck. But that's going to allow other players like Arden Key to step up, right? And hopefully Arden Key can prove to us that he was worth the draft pick, right? I know he comes in on a part-time role and he does a great job. But as a third-round pick, that should not be a part-time player, right? A third-round pick should be a starter, right, or a potential starter. So hopefully Key can start. I want to move forward a little bit and talk a little bit about the Raiders and Chiefs preview because, again, this game, in my opinion, is the most important game of the season. You know, the first Chiefs game was important, but we beat them, right? And we know we can beat them. So going into this game, the Chiefs are fired up and the Raiders are fired up. So I want to talk a little bit about how the Raiders can beat the Chiefs. First and foremost, it's not going to be easy, right? Right off the bat, the Raiders have to stop Patrick Mahomes. And if we can't stop Mahomes, we're going to lose, like flat out. If Patrick Mahomes goes off and we can't either force a turnover or some sort of being able to stop him multiple times on third downs, we're going to lose this game. Last time the Raiders played the Chiefs actually had a key injury, and that kind of impacted their offense. They lost Sammy Watkins during the game, and that definitely impacted their offense because up to that point, they were scoring a ton of points. So this time around, they're obviously preparing without Watkins. Watkins might be back as well. I'm not 100% sure. But we have to stop and we have to contain Patrick Mahomes. He's been having a typical Patrick Mahomes-like season, right? Third official year Mahomes is starting, and he's pretty much doing what he's done. Now, I do think that this Chiefs team is worse than the Chiefs teams of the last 2 seasons. I don't think they're as good. I think they're 100% beatable. But again, it's going to come down to stopping Patrick Mahomes. And to take that to the next level, there's a key player that the Chiefs brought in who he really hasn't done anything yet, but that's Le'Veon Bell. And I want to talk a little bit about this. In my opinion, Le'Veon Bell is a very good player. And the last year and a half, I should say, because he just joined the Jets last year, the last year and a half, he really hasn't been performing to the standard that he once used to perform at. And I think part of that is because, let's face it, it's the Jets, right? The Jets are a very, very, very poorly run team, in my opinion. With that being stated, Le'Veon Bell has been wanting out of that team for about over a year now, right? Like by like week 7, he already wanted to be traded from the Jets last year. So with that being stated, the Raiders absolutely are going to have to stop Le'Veon Bell. And here's why I say that. The last time the Raiders beat the Chiefs, one of the ways we did that was we kept running the football. And we're throwing it deep, right? But our base offense was running the football. And that's not what the Chiefs want, right? The Chiefs want to get into shootouts. They want to have 13, 14 possessions a game because that's the type of offense and that's the type of team they built, right? They want to rush the passer. They want their safeties and their corners to intercept 1 or 2 passes. And they win games like that because their offense does score a lot of points. But against the Raiders, we pounded the football. At the same time, we built our secondary to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, look at all the players we brought in, right? Joyner, Littleton, Marl's a good player, Kwiatkowski. You look at the draft picks over the last 2 years, right? You got Trayvon Mullen on one side and Arnett on the other side. You have the other safeties we've kind of brought in, Abram, Heath, Harris as well. Our defense is being built to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. And for the most part, I think it worked last time. Right, last time we saw how we are going to beat the Chiefs, and building that team to stop the Chiefs, it's panned out for the Raiders. Now, here's the thing: the Chiefs are going to counter that. Right, the Chiefs know that they are not going to beat the Raiders by playing their typical style of football. Right, when the Chiefs go and play a team like the Bills, right, they play the Bills once every 4 years. So if the Bills lose or win, the Bills aren't going to build their team to stop the Chiefs. They don't care. They'll see them once every 4 years. The Raiders see them twice a year, so we built our defense to stop them. So what the Chiefs are going to do this time around is they're going to run the football. They're not going to rely on a high-scoring type of offense, right? Have a ton of possessions. They're not going to rely on that because the Raiders are not going to give them that, right? We're going to control the clock. We're going to control time of possession. So again, getting back into Le'Veon Bell, the Chiefs brought in Le'Veon Bell to hopefully be able to pound the football and have success, right? Bell really has not done yet what they brought him in for. However, with that being stated, Bell hasn't really even played this year, right? He's kind of like a player that maybe gets hurt for 7 weeks and then comes back in the 8th week, right? That's kind of what Bell is. That 8th week is going to be tough for that player. Even the 9th week, they might not be as good, but by week 10 or 11, assuming you've missed the first portion of the season, you're going to be at 100%. And right now, Le'Veon Bell is in form. With that being stated, they also have a ton of other weapons on that offense, right? Including Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. You got the rookie running back Edwards. The one thing the Raiders are going to be able to take advantage of is that offensive line. Just like last time, that O-line is not a good unit. And to have all these playmakers, to pay Hill, to pay Kelce, to pay their left tackle, to pay Mahomes, you kind of have to give up on certain spots, and that's their offensive line. They've kind of given up on their offensive line. But with that being stated, I want to share with you guys a video that I saw kind of trending on Twitter with Travis Kelce, and I hope the audio comes through. So check it out, and then we'll come back. Just to hit on that a little bit. First and foremost, Travis Kelce said the Raiders acted like they won the Super Bowl by doing the quote-unquote victory laps. Now, here's another thing, right? Andy Reid has been stating it to his team, to the media, that it quote-unquote bothered them, right? And the reason why he's doing this is because he wants his team to at least mentally feel that we need to be 100% into this game, right? This team right here, quote-unquote, talked shit or talked crap. They celebrated, right? The whole point of Andy Reid doing what he's doing with that. And of course, Travis Kelce repeated it, right? They acted like they just won a Super Bowl by doing their victory laps. The whole purpose is to get that team riled up. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing that Travis Kelce needs to understand. Against the Jets, they did the same exact thing, right? Against the Jets, that's a poor team. And they were taunting and dancing. And the video's on Twitter. I don't have it for you guys, but you guys can look it up, you know? Travis Kelce acts like he's the New England Patriots, right? He acts like the Chiefs are the New England Patriots. And over the last 20 years, they've been playing in multiple Super Bowls. And they're like this crazy team, right? The truth is they're not that team, right? You guys won one Super Bowl and you guys did a good job, great season, good for you. But at the end of the day, you're not the Patriots. You're not even the Ravens, right? You guys haven't had that success yet. Now, does it look like you guys are going to have that success? Possibly, right? They have a good team, but you have to go in and have those 5, 6, 7, 8 years of making the playoffs, potentially winning multiple Super Bowls before you can act like you're, this crazy good team. And in my opinion, this Chiefs team is worse than the Chiefs teams of the last 2 years. Like, I personally do not think this Chiefs team is that good. Now, I know their record says otherwise. I think they're 8-1. But with that being stated, they're just not as good, right? I've watched 2 or 3 of their games, and they don't look like the same team. You look at some of the wins they had, right? Like, they barely beat the Chargers. They barely beat a couple other teams. Like, I think the Patriots game was a close game as well. Like, they barely beat a couple of teams, right? With that being stated, I don't think this Chiefs team is good enough to win the Super Bowl. Like, I just don't think they are. Now, who's going to win the Super Bowl? I don't know. I think there's a ton of good teams. If I had to predict one team to win the Super Bowl, it has to be the Raiders, right? Like, we're one of the best teams in the NFL. So it's going to be very interesting. Travis Kelce is saying things like the Raiders acted like they won the Super Bowl. Well, we'll see, right? You guys can motivate yourselves all you want, but at the end of the day, I think the Raiders win in this upcoming game. With that being stated, the one way they're going to win this game, they have to score points. Like, absolutely have to score points. And I know that's such a basic concept to say that, they have to score points, because it is, but it's also truthful, right? The Raiders scored 40 points last time we played them. And that is why the Raiders won, right? 40 points is a ton of points to score. And we have to do that again. And here's the thing, right? This offense is just now clicking, right? You look at the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've been clicking. Against the Broncos, we could have scored almost 60 points. Had Darren Waller caught his pass and had Nelson Aguilar caught his pass. Even Ruggs, I don't think Ruggs would have caught that pass and scored, but at least we would have got a field goal out of that one drive, right? We could have had so many more points against the Broncos and even the Chargers. I feel like we left a lot out there. With that being stated, I think the Raiders are going to win this game. And again, we have to be healthy. It does suck with the whole COVID situation, because the last time that happened against the Buccaneers, you guys all kind of know what happened. We got blown out. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think the Raiders win this game. With that being stated, let's talk a little bit about the injury report. I think it is important to acknowledge the fact that Colton freaking Miller, one of my favorite players on this team, is practicing. Maurice Hurst, another player I think is a really good player, is practicing. And I think those 2 players, more than anybody else, is going to be very, very, very important. Once Colton Miller is 100% confirmed to come back, I think he's been practicing. He's practicing today. I think he started practicing yesterday, which was Wednesday. Once Colton Miller is 100% confirmed to come back, Sam Young can be benched. And then hopefully we put Brandon Parker at that right tackle position, and he keeps playing the same exact way he's been playing, right? Again, it's going to be very, very, very interesting to just kind of see how everything just pans out. The injuries, in my opinion, are going to be huge. Obviously, Waller's had a back injury. He'll be 100% playing. Morrow is playing. Corey Littleton will probably not play. Trent Brown, I'm pretty sure it's like 100% confirmed he is not coming back this week. But chances are he'll be back next week. And again, I know a lot of people are not high of Trent Brown anymore, but he's still our best right tackle on this team. He is still one of the top 10 right tackles in the whole entire NFL. With that being stated, I think the Raiders have a really, really solid shot, assuming everybody is healthy and everybody comes back and is able to play. We're going to beat this Kansas City Chiefs team. And honestly, it's on Sunday Night Football. I hope we beat their ass, like badly too, because the world needs to know that the Raiders are not the team to mess with anymore. People continuously sleep on this Raiders team. And with that being stated, let's shift over and let's talk a little bit about Vic Beasley Jr. Because a lot of people, like, and I'm not even under exaggerating this, a lot of people want him, and a lot of people have been sending me questions and comments and saying the Raiders need to go get him. And I 100% agree with you guys. I think if the Raiders are able to bring in Vic Beasley Jr., I think it 100% makes sense, because I don't think he's ever going to be a starter for the Raiders, and he would have to know that and accept that. He could be the same exact person to come into the game the same exact way that Arden Key does when Farrell is in the game, which is on third downs, we put Farrell on the inside and Arden Key on the outside. On long drives, right? Let's say a drive lasts 8, 9, 10 plays. Maybe Farrell comes out for 3 plays, even if it's on first down and Key goes in there, right? Beasley would have to understand that that is his role as well, and he would be switching in and out with Crosby on the other side, and maybe Crosby comes to the inside, right? Like if it's 3rd and 13, could you guys imagine if you have Vic Beasley, Arden Key on the outsides, and then Crosby and Farrell on the insides? Like, I think that could be a really, really solid pass rush. But again, it's going to really depend on if Beasley is willing to accept that role, because when he comes in, he's going to be told, right? Paul Gunther, Gruden, Mayock, whoever's going to talk to him is going to tell him that you're not starting for this team, right? You'll play a ton, and it really doesn't matter if you start or if you don't, but some players might, it might be a big deal to them. But with that being stated, I still think that the Raiders should bring him in. They should definitely sign him. He's had 37 sacks in his first 4 years, right? He's in his 5th year. He was with the Titans. They released him. He didn't have any sacks this year. He didn't have any quarterback hits. 37 sacks and 46 quarterback hits over his first 4 years in the NFL. That's very, very good. Now, I know some people say, well, he had almost 16 sacks in his first year, I think, or maybe his second year. With that being stated, then his other 3 years, technically, he didn't have the same number of sacks. Or his other 4 years, he technically didn't have the same number of sacks. And I definitely agree with that. But I think we should definitely think about it, give it a shot if it works out, if we have the money, right? And obviously, I don't think Vic Beasley's going to sign a 5-year, $100 million contract, right? Chances are it'll be like a 1-year, $2 million deal, right? Or something lower so he can go and prove himself. At the same time, I'd want to know what's important to him. Does he want to be on a winning team, right? Because if that's the case, I don't know why he wouldn't have stayed with the Titans. But also, maybe he thought the Titans just weren't good and wasn't a good fit. And the Raiders are also a winning team, so to stay with the winning team, I can go sign there. Either way, I think he'd be a great, great addition to the Raiders. And I'd enjoy him, if he came to the Raiders. So with that being stated, I want to get into the very last part of this, and that's the question and answering part of this. Now, I do have a couple of questions that I kind of remembered that you guys have asked me, and I'll just get into that first. You guys can put the questions down below, and then I'll kind of read through those afterwards. But here's the thing, right? One of the questions you guys asked me, and again, a ton of times you guys asked me this question: should the Raiders extend Colton Miller right now? Right? He is in his 3rd year, and yeah, he's 4th year will be his rookie, or on his rookie contract in his 4th year, and then we have a 5th year team option. Here's the thing: after this year, right, after the 3rd year is over, going into his 4th year, the Raiders have to make a determination, and it has to be before the 4th year, right? If the Raiders want to pick up his 5th year option, you have to say yes or no before the start of the 4th year. So I think what the Raiders are going to do is they're going to pick up his 5th year option after the season is over, right? So offseason is going to come around. They're going to say, yes, we want to pick up his 5th year option. And then after that, right after we say, yes, we're going to pick up his 5th year option, we're going to extend him, right? So that extension wouldn't start in the 4th or 5th year. It'll actually start in the 6th year going forward, right? So we can sign him for a 5-year contract, whatever it is that a top tier left tackle makes. Maybe it's 15 million, 20 million, or somewhere in between that. When the Raiders do decide to sign him for a 5-year deal, assuming it kicks in into his 6th year, we'll have him for a total of 11 years, right? And he's only in his 3rd year right now. So We'll have him for 7 or 8 more years, depending on how the contract kind of plays out. But the Raiders should 100,000% extend Kolton Miller. Not only is he 100% reliable, but he's just that guy that, like, even if he's hurt, he'll play, right? And I know he's not playing through his ankle injury, but the ankle injury is probably really, really, really bad, right? Like, it's probably way worse than any of us can think of for him to miss 2 games. Like, he had a tear his rookie year. I think it was in his knee, and he played through that, or maybe it was in his shoulder or his arm, but he played through that one injury his rookie year. An injury that other people would not have played through. He played through it, and he did allow, I think, like 16, 17 sacks. But he had a lot of games where he allowed no sacks his rookie year, or quarterback hits. But this year, I don't think he's allowed any sacks yet, right? I know Pro Football Focus says he's given up 1 sack, but Pro Football Focus is 100% wrong. He has not given up a sack. I watched the sacks that DC was sacked in that game, and the pressure came from the right side, and technically Kolton Miller's guy made the tackle, but the sack should have went to the DN on the right side. And NFL split the sack between the 2 guys. So I don't know why PFF gave the 1 sack to Kolton Miller as opposed to, I think it was Sam Young at that time. Regardless, that's that. I want to actually just answer some of your guys' questions in here. But before we answer a question, James Morgan said, keep up the game film breakdown. And he left a super chat of $25. And I really, really appreciate you, James, because I know you're also a subscriber to the premium content. And that really makes a big difference. And I really appreciate it. At the end of the day, this video will be fully monetized. But any other film type of videos that I put out there will not be monetized, right? So I'll spend hours doing them, and I get absolutely no benefit out of them. So for James Morgan, for you to leave a $25 super chat, I really appreciate it, as well as being a member of the premium content. And I hope you enjoy all of the content that I put out there. But with that being stated, I'm going to go through a couple more of these questions here as well. Leonard Beltrain asked, is David Irving playing this week? I think he is. With that being stated, other people have asked me about David Irving as well, and kind of how, how he was a very good player last week, and what I thought of him. And I did think about making a video on David Irving, but I decided not to. And the reason why was I don't have the time to do it. I definitely would, and I did watch his film. I don't see David Irving being on the injury report. I also don't see him being one of the players that tested or had contract tracing, but let me 100% confirm that. I don't see his name on here. I think David Irving is playing. He had a good game. I think for the Cowboys, he played D-end a lot. For the Raiders, he played D-tackle a ton, and he made a couple of good plays. One of the things I really, really love about this defense is you can have Malik Collins out there, you can have Hankins, David Irving, Kendall Vickers. Those guys will switch. That's 4 players that can come in, switch, and have an impact, right? And then on the edge, you have Carl Nassib, you have Key, Farrell, you have Crosby, and those guys will make an impact. And then you have Morrow, and you have Kukowski, and then you have Littleton, and those guys, the 3 can interchangeably come in, and we'll have 2 guys in. They'll make an impact. The secondary, you have all these solid, talented players, and all these guys have an impact for the Raiders. And with that being stated, I think that makes a huge difference, right? People aren't pressured as much. Again, David Irving, I think, is a great player, and I think he was on the list. I apologize. So David Irving was also one of those players that had contract tracing with COVID. Don't quote me on that, but with that being said, I think all those guys will be back, right? I'd be really, really surprised if those guys are not back. Another question you guys have asked me is Maurice Hurst playing? And you guys can see the injury report here. It looks like he should be playing. He did practice in a limited capacity. But with that being stated, we don't know if that's 100%, that he will play, right? Maybe he's just limited and he's really just getting his footing back and just kind of getting back into football shape. But at the end of the day, there is a chance that he will play because Maurice Hurst is practicing. Another question you guys asked me: do you think Amik will play to his potential? And that's by user B. That's literally just his name, B. I think he will be playing. And here's the thing, right? I'm sorry. I think he still does have a ton of potential. And here's the thing, right? Slot corner is the hardest position. So let me just reiterate. The question was, do I think Amik Robertson will play up to his potential? And I absolutely think he will. And again, slot corner is the hardest position in football after quarterback, right? Like there's no question that slot corner is the hardest position after quarterback. Playing in the slot is really, really difficult because you're in the middle of the field, right? So like, if you're a receiver on the right side or on the left side, there's boundaries to the outside of those guys, right? So the corners know that. So the corners can play a little bit to the inside. But when you're a corner in the middle of the field, as a slot corner, there's no boundaries. There's no, you don't have boundaries to either side. So it makes it so much more difficult. On top of that, LaMarcus Joyner has been a very, very, very solid player. Like, very solid. And with that also being stated, Amik Robertson isn't playing because of those reasons, right? LaMarcus Joyner has been a very good player. And if the Raiders feel that LaMarcus Joyner in 2 years, or maybe even next year, right? The Raiders could cut him next year. We don't lose any cap. But he is under contract next year as well. So after next year or going into next year, the Raiders can really make that decision of do they want to keep Amik Roberts or do they want to keep Joyner and keep Amik Robertson on the bench, having him come play maybe 5, 6, 7 snaps a game. And again, I'm okay with that. But I do think Robertson eventually, maybe it's in year 2 or 3, it's going to click. There are some players who they want to be great. And Robertson is one of those guys. He wants to be a great player. So when you want it that badly, chances are you will become that. You will become a very, very solid player. Another question that you guys asked is, why isn't Isaiah Johnson playing safety, right? Essentially replacing Eric Harris. Here's the thing. He did play safety, I think, a couple of plays the past game. Specifically, and I know you guys all know this because I'm sure you guys saw the play, Isaiah Johnson laid a huge hit on the wide receiver, and I'm not sure exactly who it was, on Jeff Heath's first interception. And if you guys didn't see that hit, go back, just search it in Google, YouTube, search it on Twitter. You guys will come across it. Isaiah Johnson laid a huge hit, but that was from the safety position. He was playing strong safety. On top of that, he covered the tight end line. That was also from the safety position. I think Isaiah Johnson could be a good safety. With that being stated, if he can first play and be a solid corner, I think it's easier to transition into being a safety. I think overall, Isaiah Johnson is a good player, right? Is he going to be a superstar player? I don't know. Right now, it doesn't look like he'll be a superstar player, but that's okay, right? You don't need superstar players. You need good role players that know how to win, right? They learn how to win. They learn how to play within a system. That's what you need, right? There's a reason why some players are great in some systems and then go to other systems and don't play as great, right? We all kind of see that with Corey Littleton a little bit. He's not as great with the Raiders as he was with the Rams. I think it'll eventually click for him. I'm going to answer one last question. I guess it won't be a question. It's just a comment made by my man Rick here. He said, I just realized you changed up your background a little bit. If you guys haven't noticed, I got rid of the ugly green that was back here. To be honest with you guys, it's just the green's still everywhere else in the room. It's actually just right here. There's no green. But I did get rid of it primarily because it looks better. And then on top of that, it also allows me to add whatever lighting I want to in the future for streams, right? Maybe I'll get like a silver and black lighting or something going, and it can hit the white wall back here, and it'll look good, right? So thank you for noticing, man. That just made my day right there. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I don't know how long it was, 32 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, man. And if you guys did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. It does help me a ton. And if you guys commented live, once the video is done and the stream ends, go back and comment on the actual video, right? If you guys go in and comment on the actual video, you guys can interact with other people. I see about 300 people are watching this video live. Over time, I think, maybe another 3,000 to 7,000 people will come across this video. So if you guys want to leave a comment, go comment once the stream ends. And then you guys can interact with other people. If you guys are able to join the premium section of this channel, again, it's not necessary and it's not mandatory. I would just appreciate it if you guys are able to do it. I hope you guys all have a great day. I really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's go beat the Chiefs. You guys all have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.